Today, we're diving into something, well, pretty wild. We're not just decoding a text, we're looking at what our source material claims is a blueprint for reality itself. The idea is that this cosmic plan, a really precise mathematical structure, is actually embedded within the text of the Quran. So let's explore that.
So this is the big question at the heart of it all, right? Is there some kind of hidden mathematical code for the universe? The source material we're looking at says yes. It proposes that behind everything we see, there's this exact, mathematically sealed architecture, a master plan that supposedly governs everything. And this blueprint has a name, the Dual-Caustic model. Now, caustic is a term from physics about how waves like light get focused. The model suggests the Quran isn't just a book of guidance, but a structural map of reality, a sealed system that describes the engine of existence itself. Let's start unpacking that map.
Okay, so before we can start exploring the terrain of this map, we gotta learn how to read it. We need the legend, right? And that legend, the fundamental set of rules for the whole system, is called the 2-3-7 master algorithm. First up, the number 2. This represents duality. And this is super fundamental. The source points out that everything in creation exists in pairs. You've got day and night, sound and light. This basic polarity is the very first layer of the entire cosmic structure. Next, we have the number 3, which stands for the test. But don't think of it like a school test. It's more like the engine. It's the process, the dynamic oscillation between the two poles of duality. It's the force that drives everything and creates knowledge. And finally, we hit number 7. This is all about completion. It represents a full, resolved cycle. So according to the source, when you see mentions of 7 heavens or 7 gates, it's actually describing a complete structural layer, the boundary that contains and finishes the whole 2-3-7 process. All right, so we've got the rules. 2-3-7. Now let's get into the actual terrain of this cosmic map. The dual-caustic universe is essentially split into 2 primary, very distinct realms, a world of sound and a world of light. So this framework divides everything into 2 fields. You've got the light field, timeless, absolute command and truth, and then there's the sound field, temporal, based on experience. Now, here's the kicker. They never actually touch directly. The model says they interact through a third space, a kind of membrane called the buffer. And that's where things get really interesting, because that's supposedly where consciousness emerges. This slide really breaks it down nicely. The sound realm, think of that as deterministic, kind of like old-school Newtonian physics. It's a universe of clockwork, of cause and effect, a physical vibration. But the light realm is the total opposite. It's indeterministic, more like quantum physics. It's all about probability and potential. It exists as a wave. Now, inside both of these realms, there's this dynamic engine that's always running, driving creation itself. And the source material gives it a specific name, the 369 cosmic engine. I know, that sounds pretty abstract. So, to make it easier to grasp, the source gives us a really powerful analogy from nature. The transformation of a caterpillar into a butterfly. This chrysalis cycle is basically a perfect mirror of the 3-stage process of 3, 6, and 9. So here's how that analogy maps onto the cosmic functions. The number 3, that's the caterpillar. It represents pure potential or Rahman. The number 6, that's the chrysalis, that intense, messy, transformative state of oscillation. That's Rahim. And finally, 9 is the butterfly, the stabilized final form that emerges from it all, which is called Razim. So you see, this 369 sequence is laid out as the universal flow of how anything comes into being. It starts with pure possibility, goes through a transformative oscillation, and then resolves into a stable, manifest form. So we have the map, we have the rules, and we have the engine. Now, let's start putting some key operators on this map. According to this framework, the prophets mentioned in the Quran aren't just historical figures. Nope, they're seen as cosmic functions, key operators within this huge machine. The 25 prophets are placed with incredible precision across these 2 realms of sound and light. Each one is described as a functional node with a very specific purpose, a phase function that carries out a certain operation within that whole 2-3-7 structure. Let me give you a concrete example. In the upper deterministic sound realm, the world of vibration, we find Adam. He's placed at position 3, the point of potential, his specified function, the origin of form. He represents the activation of the physical or clay vessel for consciousness. Now check this out. Look at the mirror image down in the lower indeterministic light realm, the world of the wave. Musa is also sitting at position 3. But his function is the extraction from chaos. He initiates purification, drawing order out of that quantum-like field. So you see? Same position, but a different parallel function for a different realm.
And then we have Isa and Muhammad. In this framework, they are the ultimate connectors, the two apex points. They're the interfaces that bridge the sound and light realms, completing what the source describes as a Mobius loop, where the creative word becomes praise, and that praise returns right back to the word. So, this brings us to the big so what question. What does this incredibly intricate cosmic blueprint mean for you, for me, for the individual? Well, according to this framework, there's a specific activation key.
The key is identified by this number, 1912, a very specific address within the Quranic's text.
And this is the verse. O Yahya, take the scripture with determination. Now, this isn't presented as just a command to a prophet long ago, but as a universal activation key, almost like a BIOS call for the human operating system.
And activating this key, according to the source, is a huge deal. It represents a fundamental shift. Authority moves from your lineage to the book, from your physical body to knowledge. Lineage becomes epistemic, not genetic. It's about who holds the knowledge with determination. Basically, it's a call to execute the code, not just read about it. And so, this framework leaves us with a really provocative, personal question. If this cosmic blueprint truly exists, and if this verse really is the activation key, what happens when you turn it? When will you activate 1912, and as it says, hold the book with all your strength?